These last 2 weeks in Mexico have really tried our patience. It seems like almost every day I'm just like, I want to go home. Like, this is not fun right now.
Shouting and struggling and feeling like you're nothing, trying not to give in, not to take it on the chin, trying to wear your thickest set of skin. But there are some things like rudders in the storm, someone to keep you warm, a friend to raise a glass, to take off your mask, to tell the truth and just be you. Oh yeah, alright, trying to make sense of it all tonight. Oh no, here we go, this won't be the last time.
All right, so we need to catch you up to speed.
It's been eventful.
It's been very eventful. If you've been following along our adventures this year, you know that we were traveling through Mexico in our truck, heading down to Argentina. But we took a break to fly up to Portland, Oregon to speak at TravelCon. And 2 weeks ended up being
3.5 months? Oops.
like, it worked out well. We were able to see family. We were able to go on RAGBRAI. We took some time for ourselves and we said, you know what? We're gonna get back to the truck and continue our journey. So we flew to Scottsdale, had an amazing time at Scottsdale and said, all right, it's time to go back to Mexico. Flew to LA, had some in and out.
Lots of in and out. We were there a few days, hunkered down, saw friends, and then we hopped on a plane and flew back to Mexico. I think people thought we were never actually gonna get on that plane. We had people texting us like, if you guys actually get on this plane, we'll be worried because you guys have been saying you're going back to Mexico for so long. But we did. We got on the plane. We're back.
Immediately when we get into Mexico, something's wrong.
We had to rent a car from Mexico City Airport because our truck was left about an hour outside of town. We left the rental car office and we hadn't even gotten half a mile down the road and we had our first Mexican scam.
So the one important note is that the Enterprise guy, he looked at me, he said, have you ever dealt with the cops here in Mexico City? I said, no, but I've dealt with cops before here around there. They're fine. He's like, well, if you do, make sure you never hand the documents over to them.
Which is like number one, we never do that. Like that's, you're told that in Overlanding early on, like always make copies of everything.
Always, but put your documents against the window. Sure enough, this guy dressed like a police officer
was not official.
He had a gun and he had like security written over his motorcycle. He pulls over. He gets to the side of the window and he's like, pull over now. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And then he gets in front and he's like, pull over now. And so I finally pull over. I roll down the window barely and I stick the license out. And immediately I realized I made a big mistake. I should not have put the license out there. And he grabbed the license and I held onto it just like this. And he's like, why won't you give me the license? And I said, I'm just gonna hold it in here. So I put it against the window. Now, mind you, he doesn't speak English. I don't speak very good Spanish. And all of this is happening through Google Translate.
Which works to your advantage when it's coming to like scams. This guy was obviously waiting for tourists and rental cars to come out of the airport. But I think he was hoping he'd get one that at least somewhat spoke Spanish or would be dumb enough to hand over the license. Because once you give him the license, you have to wait for him. Like you have to pay him to get it back.
She forgot the whole punchline of the story.
Yeah, I'm terrible.
She forgot the whole punchline of the story. The reason he pulled us over was because Kramer's head was sticking out the window.
The window was rolled down this much. I'm so scared of Kramer jumping out the window. Like I promise you, it was this much. Kramer's head's like barely hanging out.
And he said, do you know how dangerous it is for your dog's head to hang out the window?
We have since seen lots of other dogs hanging their heads out the windows. It is not uncommon for babies not to be using car seats. I mean, everything flies. Like, this is the least of their worries. We didn't pay a penny. Eventually, he just got frustrated with our poor Spanish. We're like, I don't know. No habla español.
Once you say, hey, can I go down to the station, they sort of back off a little bit.
That's the thing. If you say, no, I'll go with you to the station, they'll say, oh, no, just go on. We're not understanding each other. Because he didn't have a station. He was clearly not a real cop. I don't even think his gun was real. So when we left Mexico, we did a pretty good job of like resetting and cleaning out the truck, but we weren't planning on being gone for 3.5 months. We thought we were gonna be gone for 10 days-ish. And so we were naturally kind of worried that when we came back, we thought mice probably had gotten in there, ants, we thought there might be flat spots on the tires, but none of those things happened. I don't know how we left a truck sitting in a field for 3.5 months and didn't have a single mouse in there. Like that just blows my mind. The truck turned on immediately, everything's great. But we did have 2 things that were broken. The first being a water pump. You want to open the box of the new one? Let's see the size.
Yeah. We we haven't taken a shower in 2 days. And Sara is fixing the water pump.
Easy.
How you feeling?
You know, I actually don't feel that bad. I think I know more about how to fix this kind of thing than I ever thought I would. I feel very empowered after having built 2 vans. I just don't want to, I'm like triple checking myself to make sure I am not cutting the wrong wire before I cut it. And yeah, we don't have wire clippers with us, so this is it. All right, thankfully they're small. Ugh. Taking the time to change out the water filter too in our Guzzle H2O. Excuse me, you're supposed to change it about every 1,000 gallons, and we are about that now. Today. It was fireworks earlier today. We've moved locations and now it's just motorcycles. Yep, did it again.
5 hours later and it is dark. Sara has been non-stop in the closet. So we got the water pump changed out. We thought that was a victory, a win. And then turns out it's not just the water pump, there's a short or something that's happening with a fuse. So every time we try to use it, it just blows the fuse. So we've traded, Sarah's changed out wires. We've basically replaced all the wires going to and from, and it's still doing it. So we're trying to figure out what the problem is, but it's getting late and this is, yeah, she just tested it again. So, this is just kind of, this sucks, really, because we have no water. We have water, we just can't get to it.
I don't know. Changed everything.
So, we're filthy. We don't feel great. Disgusting. We're actually gonna go get a hotel and just shower, get a good night's rest, and then hopefully tackle this thing tomorrow.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that part of the story.
So it was one of those hotels where they wanted a valet for you, and we're like, sure, go ahead, valet to the truck, because you know
it's not a fancy hotel.
It's not a fancy hotel. So the valet is pulling up in the truck. Today's starting off to be a better day. The valet guy, because you had to valet park at this hotel, the valet guy drove our truck and took down a telephone pole. And the power line is hooked around our light right now. So I think we had to call the authorities, and our truck's fine. We just feel bad that the telephone pole or power line pole was in the middle of the street, and he just didn't see it, and he was being, you know, it's a tall truck. This makes us feel so bad.
You just don't want them to get electrocuted.
No, I don't either. It's okay. Oh.
It was stuck.
Okay.
Even if you reverse. Gracias.
I feel so bad.
And I'm kind of partly to blame for the whole Valet telephone issue because
Chris was out there making wisecracks with the other valet who was supposed to be watching the valet driving in to make sure he wasn't going to hit anything.
The truck was pulling in. I go, mi casa. And he just started laughing. I'm like, finally. And then boom.
It's fine. Everything is fine.
The windshield has fallen off and we can't see and there's no pull off.
That noise is just like adding to it all, isn't it? Oh my gosh. I love that you're hanging on for dear life over there too. My neck is starting to cramp.
The windshield wiper. Sarah's lost her mind. The windshield wiper has fallen off and that's what's scraping right now.
But I have to, there's nowhere to pull off. It didn't fall off, it's like twisted all of a
It's
sudden.
twisted.
It was fine, and then it's
And
twisted.
this highway here in Mexico, there's nowhere to pull off. In fact, they have a huge ditch right to the right of the road. And so if we were to pull off, we would fall into the ditch. And so we just have to keep driving. There's literally nowhere to stop. And it's raining, and it's not.
Thankfully, it's not raining that hard.
Yeah,
not
I feel like the storm is slowly passing, but this is Sarah's breaking. She's mentally breaking right now.
The diagram wrong. This is the seedy underbelly of my electrical work. Don't judge me. I have a lot of hot open wires, so you have to figure out what's right. Okay, so we did have a bad relay. So we thought it was a shorten a wire, and so we ended up changing all the positive wires from the switch to the fuse block to the pump and everything. And that didn't fix it. And then we started thinking, okay, maybe it's the switch. Like, we started playing around with it, but the switch was fine. Like, we could hear it clicking on. Then we realized it was the bad relay. So then we thought we would just connect it to the fuse box and just like bypass the entire relay and just make like sort of a quick fix until we get somewhere to fix it better. But in the meantime, I realized this relay is actually going to be the easiest way to fix it because I couldn't get to all of the wires for the switch. It's pretty hard to get to. It's just very tight. The people who built it did a great job, but he's an electrical engineer, I'm pretty sure, and he's really good at this kind of stuff. And so he was like super confident in all of his work and he like nailed it. But then my incompetent hands aren't as good at it. So anyway, thankfully it's a very cheap piece. I think it's like $2 or $3. I was able to get to it and just unscrew it. It's one screw. We just re-screwed it back in, connected all the wires back up, and we're good to go. So it was a bad relay because I had rewired it just like that on the old relay and it kept blowing. Good to know, cheap fix. All right, don't show in there. I gotta make it look pretty again. I know that doesn't make sense, and I'm sure if you do understand electrical stuff, it probably still doesn't make sense because I'm saying it wrong, but just know that, listen, it's really loud right now because it's priming, but we have water! Chris, we can go! Yes!
Documenting this because I don't want to forget. We had a good win today. We got the pump working. We finally figured out what the problem was. And then when we started to like run the shower tonight, one of the pipes burst. And so we had to pull everything out of the closet, and now we're kind of back at square one. It's raining. Normally when it rains, it's kind of soothing in the camper, but tonight it's just more annoying. And yeah, so we are still have a full tank of water, but we can't get to it. And then if we drive tomorrow, it's all going to like pour out onto the floor. Once we fix that pipe, then we have to get the correct parts here. So just a really, really frustrating first 5 days in the truck. Like Sarah said, our water pump broke. So changing a water pump is pretty easy, but here in Mexico we ran into a problem that they didn't have the exact fittings that were used in our truck. And in fact, there's this small little T that we've been trying to get and nobody carries it.
Nobody. We have to import it from the US.
When it came down to the water pump, we basically had to MacGyver this thing.
What does that mean?
MacGyver is a guy back in the 80s who could build a bomb out of toothpicks. And
Really?
yeah.
That's what the premise of the show was?
Yeah, he could build anything. And so that's essentially what we did. The little T-valve had broken off, but what Sarah did was so genius.
I don't know if it was genius. Somebody's going to watch this and be like, that's a stupid move. That's going to backfire soon. But for now, it worked. I packed a little thing of plumbing epoxy, so it's waterproof and it'll seal. The most important parts of the T were going from the hot water heater to the indoor shower. The other one that was not as important, the one that actually broke, was going to the outdoor shower. So what I did is I stuck some epoxy into the T connector and just sort of sealed off that one. So it's just like holding right now. I hope it stays. So far it's great. We haven't had a single drop of water out of it. We'll keep checking it.
So we MacGyvered our shower. It is working. It is not the solution that we wanted, but we cannot find the correct part here in Mexico.
And by that, I mean, we've been to how many Home Depots?
Found an Ace Hardware.
Be known that it is 7:30 on a Saturday night. We have a gym bag with us to go to a public shower because I haven't showered in 3 or 4 days. In case Ace Hardware does not have the piece we need. We have been to, how many stores have we been to now?
5 or 6.
People have it either in just the basic connection without the T, or they have it in a size too big. Here we go. And literally nobody can get us this part.
We mentioned that 2 things broke in the truck. Water, and then the Starlink.
The water was stinky. That was a stinky few days, like literally stinky, physically stinky.
We hadn't showered in a while.
It was pretty rough for a few days. I was right.
But Starlink, if you don't know, yes, we do YouTube. Yes, we have a website. We do all these creator things, but we also work on the road. We also freelance, and the internet is very vital to our business in order to stay in communication, keep working, keep the lights on, keep gas in the truck.
Diesel, we don't put gas in that truck.
That's true.
We have 3 solutions. One, we could just get by on using like eSIM data until we get back to the States and take the Starlink back with us then and try to get it fixed and figure out what's wrong. That's one option, but eSIM data will add up pretty quickly when we go through the data that we do, especially like uploading videos and all that, video calls, that kind of thing. The second option was we could go ahead and mail our Starlink back to the US and then ship it back again after someone fixed it. That was going to be really expensive too. The third option was just to go ahead and buy a Starlink Mini. The Mini just came out. It's less expensive than some of the other ones. And we could go ahead and just use it how is.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we did. We purchased the Starlink Mini, and then we had some family members decide to ship it to Mexico for us.
Which is very kind.
Very kind. So now we have been in Mexico for 2 weeks waiting for this package to clear customs, and it is still not here. And so we have been waiting and waiting and waiting.
It's here. The package is literally in Mexico City, which is like 2 hours from us. It is sitting at the Mexico City airport and customs. We have seen pictures of the box. They have emailed us. So Chris's parents packed the box for us, which was so great.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad.
Hi. We're not upset. It's not your fault. This is just part of shipping international. But they used like T-shirts and blankets to pack the box up. Well,
and they sent a dog toy for Kramer,
which was so sweet. But the customs office opened the box up like we were told they were going to. That's very normal. They opened the box up and they said there's textiles in here, and they for some reason are claiming that there are 29 T-shirts in there that we are going to resell in Mexico. There's not 29 T-shirts. There's literally 1 T-shirt in there. So we've been in the process of battling it out with the customs office, and that means we're us hiring a broker to like go in there, not just because we don't speak very good Spanish, but just like it's the only way we're gonna get out of customs at this point, is they have to go in there and like I don't really know what they do, but we're waiting on the quote from the broker. We don't know how much this is going to cost. Today's the third day it's been in customs. So after today, we start paying for it to sit there and sit there and sit there.
So right now we're waiting for this package to get through. We love doing this overlanding thing. We love traveling. It's an amazing way to see parts of the country, parts of different countries that we probably would have never gotten to see before. But these last 2 weeks in Mexico have really tried our patience, even to the fact it seems like almost every day I'm just like, I want to go home. Like, this is not fun right now.
And not every day's fun, and we've definitely had bad days in the truck, both in stateside and in Mexico, but this has been exhausting. It feels like it's turned into this really big expense. And when you expect certain expenses, like we expect the expenses of diesel and shipping and internet plus things to go wrong here and there. But this is one of those, like the Starlink was the last thing on our radar that we thought was going to go wrong. I mean, it's been tried and true for us so far. Hi. But it went wrong, and life happens, and it just feels like right now it's been expensive, it's been frustrating. I mean, just the running around, even Uber rides, trying to get around Puebla to go to different plumbing stores have added up, and not much, but it's just been very frustrating, a lot of time wasted. And we've spent days running around to plumbing stores at this point with no luck. Like, it's been fine. Like, it's been frustrating. That's what I'm trying to say. We're not quitting. That thought has crossed our mind more seriously than it ever has of like, what are we doing? Is this really worth it? Because we love the opportunity to see back roads. Like when you fly into a country, you rarely get to leave like a major city or like wherever a train or a car can take you from that. We're getting to see places that most people never get to see. Like, I mean, how many people get to come through Cholula? I mean, some do. There's a lot of tourists here, but we get to see places that we never would have otherwise if we were just flying in. And as a whole, it's allowing us to bring our dog and it's allowing us to see these unique places. But right now, it feels like the cost is outweighing the pros of it, if that makes sense. And it's going to level out again. Things always do, but it's been a hard couple weeks.
So this parking lot right here has been our home for the last, week? And it's been beautiful. It's been great.
We have the best host. So the girl who owns the place is awesome. She even brought us pastries last night. She is so kind. They've got bathrooms for us to use. They're super clean. The guy who runs the parking lot is super nice. He speaks awesome English. So he's even helped Chris translate a little bit with the customs office because it's just been so confusing. It's just been, I can't explain. It's been the perfect, I can't even say enough how perfect of a place this was to not break down, but if we were going to be holed up somewhere and have to pick a town, this is one of the towns that we would have picked in Mexico because it's just so easy. I mean, we have walking distance to dozens of coffee shops and we can go climb the biggest pyramid in the world. We want a little exercise and to see the sights, and it's just been so nice. So welcome home. Oh, it's locked. Do you have the key? So in conclusion, we are here in Cholula. We are loving this little town. Absolutely. No, see how charming it is with the bells. We're loving Cholula. We're here. We are still waiting to see if we're going to get our Starlink out of customs. Honestly, it is part of life on the road. Things don't always go according to plan. And I will say that it may not sound like we're the most flexible people right now, but Chris and I have had a pretty good history of rolling with the punches. I mean, I don't know if we've said this in a video before, but literally a week into being married, we got back from our honeymoon, and that next week, Chris was fired from a brand new job. And we had no job our first 3 months of marriage. We were living off our tiny little savings account. So I've always said, if we can make it through that, after the highest point in your life to one of the lowest, right back to back, we can do anything. I mean, we keep being tested. All sorts of things keep coming our way, but this seems pretty minor in the grand scheme of things.
This was all the first 4 days back in Mexico.
It was eventful.
And it's been 2 weeks.
Can't wait to see what happens next week.
For behind the scenes and extra content, you can head on over to our Patreon community. Otherwise, be sure to follow on Instagram or like and subscribe here. It really helps creators like us.